Thank you, Dr. Rohit and AOS for giving me this opportunity. Today, I'm going to talk about prediction model in refractive surgery. So one of the things that really troubles a refractive surgeon, or whatever is always in his mind, is to prevent post-refractive ectasia. We have been trying to prevent post-refractive ectasia using scans like placebo-based devices from the early 80s. Then came the OpScan in the early 90s. Then the various ectasia risking score systems came to picture. Then we had the Pentacam during the early 2000s and biomechanic like Corvus in the late 2000s. So let's come to the current scenarios. Let's say if we have a Pentacam, we have had scenarios where the scan was perfect, the surgery was done perfect, but still the patient ended up with ectasia. So we realized that one device is not enough. We need to combine with the biomechanics, that is the Corvus. So with these two machines, we can group patients into 4 groups. First, where we have the structure and biomechanics being normal. So you can see all the values being normal, then you can do whatever surgery you feel like. The next thing is if there is structural abnormality and the biomechanics is normal. So as you can see in this particular the second group, where you can see the body is bad, everything else is normal. Then there can be a scenario where structurally it is normal, but biomechanically it is abnormal. So you can see the CBI is abnormal, the rest are normal. So in group 2 and group 3, you can either plan for a PRK extra or a SMILE extra, and if you have more than 6 diopter, then you can always plan for a phakic IOL. Now the group 4, where everything is abnormal, all the values are off the chart, I think simply you can just go with the phakic IOL. Now, if your patient falls into any of these groups, I think the planning is very simple. You know what to do and you know how to plan for the patient. But you will have many scenarios and permutation and combination where you know it doesn't fall into these groups, and you really don't know which procedure to do. Do you do a LASIK, SMILE, PRK, or do you actually do a refractive surgery at all? So the research question is, can we actually predict post-refractive corneal stiffness? To find this answer, we looked at different sectors. Basically, in other sectors, they use a method called as the finite element method. Basically, what they do is they take a device. Let's say, okay, you can see an image of a car. They take a car and break it down into small cubes or squares. And with the help of a mathematical equation, they see how these things change when real life forces act on it. And so what we did is we created a FEM of the cornea with the help of the data of Pentacam and Corvus, and combined it with the artificial intelligence and created a next generation refractive diagnostic tool. So, and we call this diagnostic tool as Acusum X. So, Dr. Abhijit, can you just tell us the nuts and bolts about Acusum X?
So thanks, Dr. Naren. So essentially, as Dr. Naren right now pointed out, so we have the corneal tomography which we get from common devices like Pentacam, and there is a complex deformation that a device such as the Corvus from Oculus images and maps the corneal deformation real time in patients. So combining both of these, we can construct these sophisticated biomechanical models which take into account how the collagen distribution and orientation is within the patient cornea, and calculates the patient-specific biomechanical properties. And using those properties and the intended surgical parameters, for example, the type of surgery, the flap cap parameters, and the optical zone size, we can actually predict what the post-operative corneal stiffness. So now what a model predicts and what we actually get in the patients is obviously going to be of interest. So through Acusum X, we have constructed the world's first finite element simulation and artificial intelligence powered prediction tool. It's a very easy to use software where these sophisticated finite element models and artificial intelligence routines are automated and completely run for clinicians very easily. And we can simulate different refractive surgeries here, which is SMILE, LASIK, PRK. So please keep in mind that all these simulations, all these predictions can be done before a single cut is made on the patient's cornea. So you can get a estimate of how the patient's cornea would respond in terms of the change in the corneal stiffness even before you have done the surgery, and that would be very useful. So this is again the patient interface that is obtained from the software. Now, we have done extensive training and validation of our models, and what you see here is a comparison of what we obtained from the software, which is on the x-axis, and what was actually measured in patients. And as you can see that the correspondence is almost 1:1, and the 95% confidence interval fits very tightly into this. We were also able to evaluate a few ectasia eyes. Why only few is because we have actually very few data sets where even the preoperative measurements are available, and even for those ectasia eyes, which you can see in this figure indicated by the red dots, the predictions were very accurate, and again a 1:1 correspondence was obtained. So actually at the preoperative stage, we could identify that these eyes could have ended up in ectasia with a high probability. So this is using these ectasia eyes, we have come up with a useful nomogram, and this nomogram has been inbuilt into the software now. And in terms of the application of this software, it's quite easy to use in standard machines. People don't need high-end supercomputers to run them in their clinics. So currently, Oculus has been promoting and making it available to different clinicians. We are very happy to report that currently over 20 centers in Southeast Asia are using this software in the beta testing process, and pretty soon we will make it commercially available to a lot more customers. So, so this is how a brief of the AccuSimX requirements are. And looking ahead, if you could move to the next, yeah. And looking ahead, this video basically shows, yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, so this video basically gives an idea of how the models are run. So you can choose the type of surgery. You have to read in the Pentacam and Corvus measurement files. Very easy to export. And once these files are read into the software, you simply enter the surgical parameters, which in this case would be thickness, diameters, optical zones, the intended sphere and cylinder along with the axis. You can also enter the epithelium thickness. There are two modes. One is a uniform epithelial thickness, and another is a custom thickness. If you have a spatially varying epithelial thickness profile at the pre-op stage, even that can be used, and that will improve the accuracy of your predictions. So once these parameters are entered,
yeah, I think once it's entered, I think
yeah,
we have been validated the same.
Yeah.
Basically, to keep it simple, wherever you see the dotted lines, this is what the AccuSimX has predicted. So you can see the different surgeries, and it beautifully correlates with the type of surgery and the actual post-operative corneal stiffness. So once, like how Dr. Abhijit said, once you feed in the data, basically it is nothing but just a simple AI-based software. Actually, it's Dr. Abhijit's baby, and it does absolutely fantastic things. So once you enter the data, so you get a graph like this. So if you see the orange wave, it is the preoperative corneal stiffness, and the green wave is the one which is it's the postoperative corneal stiffness, what it's predicting. So you get certain values also, the preoperative, postoperative, and the change in corneal stiffness. As you can see, you have 74. Pre-op 78 and 6.4 is the change in corneal stiffness. So let's look at certain scenarios. Let's say we have one patient, and let's look at that patient's post-operative corneal stiffness depending on the type of surgery that you do. So here we have the LASIK, and you can see the post-operative corneal stiffness is what it's predicting is 75.48. And the postoperative corneal stiffness in SMILE, what it's predicting is 75.6, and in PRK it's predicting as 77.4. So this is one more scenario. Again, it's just to illustrate that it is so beautifully that it keeps showing for each type of patient. It is completely different values. So here you can see For LASIK, post-refractive corneal stiffness is 62.56, and post-smile surgery you have 62.8, and post-PRK it is 64.3. Basically, what it's trying to do is give you a picture of how it's going to be post-operatively. So pre-operatively, you can really plan on what type of surgery do you actually do it or not, just go with the lens option. So you'll have a very clear idea, and you'll have a lot of confidence, especially in these kind of borderline cases. So this has, like Dr. Abhijit said, this has been, in the beta testing phase, and it's been done in 20 centers across the country, and which is including India. And we truly believe that the Acusem X not only will reduce the amount of post-refractive ectasia, we just hope that it will completely eradicate it. Thank you for your time. And Dr. Abhijit is going to give you a glimpse on the future of Acusem X. What next, other than what we already spoke about?
Thanks, Dr. Naren. So I promise I'll just take a little bit more time. So a new module that is going to come up shortly is we are, including a module where simulations, the power of simulations and AI is also going to be used for planning of corneal cross-linking. So right now, if you look at corneal cross-linking, particularly the customized process where you want to cross-link only the diseased zone, generally what is used is either you look at the steep zones or the elevation or the thickness map. But a traditional cornea is not like that. The degeneration zone is very focused, and what we have is a purely science-based biomechanical analysis tool where we predict what this degeneration zone is. And this is an example of pre and post how, if we use the power of simulation, we are able to generate outcomes which are way more improved than what you would get out of traditional cross-linking. Another simulation platform that is going to come up hopefully very soon is that we at NN have been working extensively on patient-specific imaging of the collagen birefringence, collagen distribution within the patient cornea. And the schematic that you see, which is in black and white, shows how in human corneas the collagen fibers are oriented. And what you see on the top right-hand side is the color map, which is the phase retardation from something known as the polarization-sensitive optical coherence tomography device. And you can see how beautifully we are able to capture the native, the in situ collagen distribution and orientation in patient corneas. Now, if we move on to the next slide, this one slide shows really the application. So the first column is a healthy cornea, which you have seen in the previous slide also. The second slide is a thin cornea, which in this case the patient had a thickness of somewhere around 450 microns. Then we had a patient which was basically asymmetric keratoconus, which in this case implies that the left eye was basically normal, as you can see by the curvature map at the lower row, at the bottom row, and the right eye was a clinical KCI. So you can clearly see that an asymmetric keratoconus where the curvature was normal, even the collagen distribution was indicated normal by polarization sensitive OCT. So now we actually have a tool where real time we can in vivo in patients quantify the native collagen distribution, and therefore probably give a much more potent diagnosis of the disease state. And the last column is really the collagen distribution that you see in a keratoconus cornea. So really the fourth and the fifth column shows a keratoconus cornea, whereas the second and third column shows a thin cornea with normal curvature and thin cornea in an asymmetric keratoconus patient. So this really shows how imaging specific collagen distributions can be mapped, and hopefully these can be included in our simulation tools also in the near future. So with this, I would like to thank for the audience.